today we are joined by CA Aashna, now practicing a chartered accountant with almost 2 decades experience in finance and administration in the UAE. Aashna Mulgaonkar is a well-reputed tax consultant in the UAE. She is well acquainted with auditing, company formation, taxation, accounting. Now, she's also been associated with several high-profile mergers and acquisitions and has played a critical role in setting up the finance and administration departments of organizations. Her clientele includes businesses from diverse industries, including manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, real estate, advertising, IT, technology, food, restaurants, etc.
Are you happy with the introduction or you need
कि
हम थोड़ा और कुछ पढ़े? The ever charming, the most.
सेकंड के लिए लगा मेरे बारे में बोल रहे हो किसी और के बारे में.
थोड़ा और ऐड करते हैं. Ex banker रही आशना is actively associated with several platforms for knowledge sharing and this is one platform जहाँ पे आप share करते हैं बहुत सारी knowledge. Now corporate tax, proactive approach, this is the subject we're going to talk about आज.
Yeah.
अच्छा सीरियस हो गए एकदम.
जून से आ चुका है.
Right.
अभी नहीं तो कब.
So what does it feel like you're getting in the market? And what is it like? Are you getting a kind of a mixed reaction? Have people accepted the move, or are people still
hesitant about कि यार ये क्या आ गया अब?
Some people are not even believing that they will be taxed. Some people are reluctant. Some people are saying they may want to shift their base without understanding what is the implication. It's all mixed reaction because we have to understand the country was tax-free for all the years.
Right.
So when it is something new that everybody has to adapt, change is not very welcomed. But once people understand what is the reality, the government is not going to burden us with taxes. That's not the objective of the government here. So first we need to understand what is the law and then take steps.
Correct. Right. So what proactive steps should businesses take to adapt to a healthy corporate tax implementation within the companies?
First of all, I would say change your mindset. ये जो mindset हमने बना रखा है कि टैक्स आ गया दुबई में. सो टैक्स आ गया तो क्या, हम लोग इंडिया में टैक्सेस नहीं भरते क्या? यूके में, सिंगापुर में हर जगह टैक्स तो है. तो इफ यूएई हैज टैक्सेस, what is the fear and the scare that people have in their minds? So I would say businesses first needs to change their mindset. They have to identify gaps in their teams. What are these potential risks that they will face? Take baby steps. First of all, do you all have a set of accounting systems in your company? Are you still following Excel? Then this is the time now to change from those old standards and streamline your books of accounts. Not just streamlining your books of accounts, here comes the major decision to choose the right software. A software which understands what is corporate tax. A software which helps you, is there for you to implement it much easier and sooner. Something like Tally, for example. There are other softwares also, but you need to choose the right software which is easier for your team to adapt. Second step would be communicate it and train your staff. Train your staff does not mean only training the finance division here. Your marketing team, your admin team, your entire decision-making teams should be aware of what will the consequences of their steps, and everything is costs, right? If marketing spends so much, then it will affect the profitability. It's not about coming on radio show and talking, but these costs will have impact on the final profitability of the company. So every team in the organization should be communicated about the law and explain to them what will be the impact from now on of their actions. Then IFRS. Most of the accounting team here do not understand the importance of IFRS. The law has already explained that books have to be prepared on IFRS basis. So अगर IFRS ही पता नहीं क्या है तो आपका accounting profit exactly properly derive नहीं होने वाला.
What is IFRS?
Yeah.
First things first, what is it?
So it is a internationally recognized reporting standards. UAE में there was nothing like what books had to be prepared as per internationally accepted standards. But now, as per the law, it is only IFRS. So every company, when they prepare their books, they have to see that they are compliant as per the reporting standards, international reporting standards. If they do not do, and the profits that they are arriving will not be correct, then again it will be a non-compliant books. Last, understand your balance sheets. Here the management will play a vital role, because every decision of theirs will have a ripple effect throughout the entire organization. What you do today and decide today will now affect your tomorrow.
Like, if you can just cite a few examples as to how things can go haywire for companies if either they opt to stick to the free zones or move away from free zones to mainland. What are the kind of examples that you could cite, Aashna?
Yeah. First of all, people should not talk only about free zone and mainland. People think the entire law is only about free zone and mainland. It is not like that.
Okay.
There are many things here which people should move away from understanding and just saving the concept of 9%. Tax saving is not only whether you are eligible for 9% or 0% rate. I'll give you an example. Staff salaries. Has anybody thought whether the salaries or the incentives that we are paying our staff is as per the contracts or not? Most of the companies do not have aligned contracts. There is a system called WPS already in the mainland, which is not in the free zone yet, not all the free zones. But the contracts and the amount you actually pay to the staff is a different amount. So companies need to start aligning first their documentation with the expenses that they are spending. Then analyze what is your revenue streams, whether you are fit to be in a free zone, whether you are fit to be in a mainland. That is a secondary category. But understanding what your present books of accounts and the awareness is more important than understanding whether you have to be in a free zone or a mainland.
Talk 100.3.
We're joined by CA Aashna Mulgaonkar. Now, she's talking to us in detail about corporate tax and everything around it. Aashna, before we could go on a break, you pinpointed as to how we are so concerned about free zones and mainland, and we've forgotten the other minute details. So could you list a couple of those details that, in the bargain we've forgotten?
Yeah, so the minute detail is, first start with your profit and loss account. Profit and loss account starts with the income. So which are your revenue streams? You need to identify your different revenue streams now. Even if you have to apply for a qualifying free zone, you need to understand what are your excluded activities, what are your qualifying income related activities, what are the non-qualifying income activities. These will be, you have to segregate your line item.
I think as a business owner, आप एक qualified CA बन ही जाएंगे अगर इतना detail में. And this is why you need a professional help, because now it looks quite complex, right?
Yeah, it looks quite complex. And see, we women are the best for it, because जब हम घर के ही इतना पैसा बचा सकते हैं अपने husbands का, तो businesses के लिए तो बचा ही सकते हैं.
कोई शक नहीं.
I love how that was nicely plugged through. Okay, now talk to me about MNCs. MNCs, I think, already have a process in place?
Yeah, MNCs have a process in place. They are a little in a better pedestal than the SMEs and small businesses, I would say. But again, not everything is streamlined for them. They have to concentrate more on compliances, transfer pricing policies, their documentation, which was not stressed in this part of the world.
Right.
Something like shipments. There has been a lot of issues with the customs and the shipments here. The customs and the shipments that are reflected on the company books and which are actually reflected on the VAT portal. The reconciliation of these small aspects were not given much importance. But now, companies can't get away with it. With VAT itself, it was streamlined to a certain extent, but still the adjustment entries were not regularly passed, which now can't be avoided because yearly closing has to happen and you have to file your return within 9 months after the books of accounts.
Correct, yeah. तो calendar year जो है वो maintain करना या financial year maintain करना is also very important. Jan to December हो या June to July, it could be any, right? Any?
It cannot be any. You can you
April
can
to March.
choose your financial year, but you have to align that year with your memorandum.
Right. Now, what are the key benefits, Aashna, of the UAE's current corporate tax regime, and how could companies leverage them to optimize their tax strategies?
Yeah. So the UAE's current tax regime offers several benefits, such as the lower tax rate. कहाँ देखा है हमने 9% का rate? You go around in India itself, you pay around 30 to 40%. Across every other country is much higher than the 9% rate. Even if you consider the effective tax rate, it is still lower here in UAE. So that itself is a major advantage. There are several tax exemptions which are also given in the law for certain industry. Then again, if you are in a free zone and you follow all the provisions that are there in the law, you can apply for a qualifying free zone concept, provided you have substance and all the other thresholds are met with. Then there is double taxation avoidance agreement benefit that you can claim. So it's not only about the rate, there are several other provisions which are there, which allows you a proper tax planning, exemptions, structure can be done in the right way to manage your effective tax rate well.
You know, with companies, it's still okay कि आप एक process जो है ना follow कर सकते हैं. But as freelancers who are also subject to this, provided उनका income या profit जो है 375,000 के ऊपर, उनके लिए थोड़ा सा challenge हो सकता है, is what I feel, right?
Yeah, challenge हो सकता है, but at the same time, if they start understanding and how to maintain books of accounts, I don't think that is much of a challenge for them, because there is already a threshold of 1 million. So, and besides, not only 1 million, besides that, if their net profit is not more than 375, again it is not, so that 375 net profit is after all their expenses. So they can set up their salaries. There are other costs which they have, which most of the time freelancers have not considered. Freelancers think it is only the turnover that will be considered. It's not like that. Finally, the tax is on the net profit. So if they have maintained their books of accounts in a right manner, structured manner, it will help them. And for these, again, there are, the base and the start of any accounting is not Excel anymore now. People have to move on from Excel to softwares.
But Aashna, small-time businesses, SMEs, they don't understand softwares. They don't have the implementation of these softwares. I'm talking about these chota-mota dukans,
Yeah.
They have their Excels, which they maintain. And for donkey's years, they've been maintaining that book of account. Right? Usi pe likha, usi pe scratch kiya, and everything is right there. Now, if you ask them to open something 3 to 4 years ago, it will all be somewhere crumbled and kept. So for those
basically,
kind of
Muneem
people,
ji type बात कर रहे हैं आप ऐसा.
there are
Muneem
so
ji होते
many.
थे
No,
ना
but
एक
there
time
are
पे.
so many. The ones in Bar Dubai, not everyone is an MNC in Bar Dubai, right? They are small textile shops as well. So what happens in their defense? I mean,
See, again, all these people who came to Bar Dubai, they came from a developed टैक्स regime. So उनके ये कान से कि हमने कभी टैक्स सुना ही नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. सबने टैक्स सुना है, सबने टैक्स भरा भी है बैक इंडिया में. सो यहाँ पे एक्सेल इज़ नॉट द वे फॉरवर्ड. अगर आपको कंप्लायंट रहना है, आपको आराम से ज़िंदगी यहाँ पे निकालनी है, बट नहीं टैक्स के बारे में कुछ नहीं करना है, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. टैक्स तो सबको ही भरना पड़ेगा, एंड यू शुड पे टैक्स हैप्पीली, because finally it helps the government, to give you a better life. So definitely tax is going to be there. The first approach is accept that Excel is not the way forward. Choose a software that already has inbuilt chart of accounts. To make your life easy, choose a software that has inbuilt chart of accounts. Once you have an inbuilt chart of accounts, tagging your Excel expenses to that chart of accounts is not very difficult. And if you can do it on your own as well, with a little of training of the softwares, and month closing can be done by a consultant, which will help them to make their life easier.
So कोई सवाल है आपके पास तो do let us know. 0586861003. This is Talk Compliance brought to you by Tally Solutions. And also we'll be moving on forward with some proactive measures जो ले सकते हैं. Upcoming changes या updates जो expected है. What we saw कि qualified और non-qualified income पे बहुत ही डिटेल में सारे अपडेट्स आए, लेकिन आर देयर एनी मोर अपडेट्स या फ्रेमवर्क दैट कंपनी शुड?
नहीं, अभी तक बस ओनली द मिनिस्ट्रियल डिसीजन 55, 56, 139 यही इशू हुआ है अभी तक रिलेटिंग टू फ्री जोन्स. लेकिन फर्स्ट सेशन फ्रॉम द मिनिस्ट्री इज हैपनिंग ऑन दिस 22nd.
Yeah. And what is it that we're anticipating?
Thursday.
This 22nd is the first session which they have opened up for the public. Whoever registered has got the invite, they can attend it. So that will actually give a lot of clarification from the ministry side. What is their approach towards this free zone? Because one important thing they have mentioned is the companies have to go back to their free zones and check whether that free zone is eligible and coming under the qualifying free zone exemption or not.
नहीं तो 9% will be applicable.
Yes, nahi to 9% will be applicable. So,
But then this again defies the purpose, right? That's why I opted a free zone. Now the free zone is exempted from it. That makes it.
no. The thing was, it was always mentioned in the free zone decrees how many years they would give the companies tax free. After that, ample amount of free zones were formed. But if you see like ADGM, DMCC, all these free zones, they have a decree law in which they had declared first 50 years would be free. Now, from the starting of the free zone or starting of your company, these clarification the free zone only can give. The ministry and free zone must have already spoken. That's why the line has been specifically added that you have to contact your free zone.
Because DMCC में if you see पूरा JLT area, there are a lot of commercial establishments as well, and residents तो है ही वहाँ पे.
Yeah. So there are certain free zones which had the decree law. There are certain free zones may not have the decree law. So ideally, we have to wait and watch whether ministry includes all of them, or there are certain free zones which may not be there in the list.
Amazing. I'm loving this conversation with you, Aashna, but we'll get to this just after this.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome to Daybreak with Vivek Sanal and myself, Mirulisa, currently joined by CA Aashna Mulgaonkar. She's talking to us about corporate tax, and we also have a caller on hold.
नागराज हमारे साथ है. Hi नागराज, good morning.
Good morning.
Vivekanand Challar.
Ushar Iran Challar.
I'm good. Good morning, Muriel. How are you doing?
Good morning. Well, that was a nice, pleasant
Tulu.
language that I heard.
And we've got CA Aashna as well. Yeah.
My regards to RL as well. Thank you, Aashna, for giving us very good information about the taxation. Though I'm an employee of the company, I got nothing to do with the corporate. But still, there is no harm in gaining the knowledge that too given to us free of cost. And thank you very much. And it's so pleasure that you have been. I've been listening to you very carefully. That you have been telling one by one that really wonderful. Thank you for that.
अच्छा, ये थैंक यू के लिए बोला, फोन किया था आपने नागराज?
हाँ, because I'm a
sweet.
diehard listener of 1003. I have to
Thank you, Nagraj.
Amazing,
Thank you.
यार.
Because the program, what you select, choose, the guests, everything, it's fabulous and it is absolute education. I recommend everyone must listen to this because this is much needed.
Superb.
And thanks for the entire team.
Oh,
And
thank
thank you, Aashna. Thanks for giving us a wonderful information.
This is really, really sweet of you.
Heartwarming.
आंखों से
Yeah.
आंसू आ गए,
heartwarming.
आशा।
Humble हो गए आप एकदम.
No. Actually, I'll tell you I love when she said that that we should learn accepting the culture of taxation. I really like that. Thanks for that.
Superb. नागराज, thank you so much यार. Next time कोरी रोटी प्लीज लेके आना चाहिए आशना के लिए, ठीक है?
Kandita. Always. Chalo, take care, you guys. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
day.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
All
We
right.
got a question. My question is on double taxation avoidance treatment. For example, TDS is deducted while making the payment for the services provided in UAE. Can this TDS be adjusted against the corporate tax payable by the entity in UAE? And the same question on withholding tax as well. For example, what deducted by Qatar-based client?
Yeah, so there are provisions that if you are paying taxes in another country, you can take the tax credit here, provided the rate that is there in the other country should not be less than the rate here, that is 9%. So these conditions are there. You can't comment and generalize this particular thing. We have to understand what rate and what tax credit you are taking. But if you have officially paid tax in another country for a similar set of income and the rate is much more than the 9% rate here, then yes, you can take the tax credits here. So, like zakat, they have specifically mentioned a clause that zakat credit can be taken. But again, the effective way of working out is different, and it's on case-to-case basis.
And also TDS के बारे में इन्होंने पूछा. Adjusted against the corporate tax payable by the entity in UAE.
Yeah, but TDS, there is no tax deducted at source here. There is tax deducted at source in other countries. Like suppose
India
you're
mein
getting
ho
India,
gaya.
yeah. But there is a TRC for it. So you have to understand, if you apply a TRC for it, then the India company will not deduct the TRC, the tax at source on the payments once your company provides the TRC to them. So TRC is an application that can be made on your past years based on your audit report that already is available to claim that you are resident in UAE. So once you are resident in UAE, you can apply TRC as an individual or as a company. That can be submitted to the country at which the tax is deducted at source.
Right.
So DK, आपके सवाल का जवाब आपको मिला या नहीं मिला और टाइप कर रहे हैं तो you can always give us a call as well 800-810-03 और आपके सवाल भी हम आंसर करेंगे. इनफैक्ट हम तो नहीं बट सी आशना 0586861003. This is Talk Compliance brought to you by Tally Solutions. जरूर लॉग ऑन कीजिए 3.0 द न्यू अवतार. अपग्रेड कीजिए Tally Prime tallysolutions.com. सुनते रहिए.
Talk 100.3.
Currently joined by CA Aashna Mulgaonkar, talking to us about corporate tax and more. And currently our question for her is, what are the potential risks or challenges that companies can face in the UAE's corporate tax regime, and what steps should they take to mitigate those risks?
This is a detailed one. I will take a little time to answer it. First, at the moment, the registrations have been opened for corporate taxes. If you see the platform that they have used, it's Emira tax only. So if you are already VAT registered, then it's easier for you to apply for corporate tax registration. But at the same time, if VAT, if your details are not updated on the VAT portal, like the manager change, your trade license is not updated, all this will have to be done now before the corporate tax registration. Unless your details are not updated, you cannot proceed with the CT registration. So there is a risk again here. Every year you had to update your details. There is a possibility that you can be questioned why you have not updated your details. So the risk starts from there. So you had to be compliant. Many companies have not been compliant on their VAT portal. Second risk, transfer pricing risk. If you have related party transactions here, there was never a concept of transfer pricing. Two companies, mainland, free zone, or branch of another foreign company, transfer pricing regulations are detailed in other jurisdictions in India, UK, US, everywhere it is there, but there was no concept here. First of all, you need to identify who is your related party. Recently, I had done a post on LinkedIn where I had done a study. If the Kapoor family, if you want to understand what is a related party, most of us are movie buffs. Kapoor family starts from Prithviraj Kapoor. So if you go down the line, and if Sharmila Tagore wants to set up a company with, say, Ranbir Kapoor, will they be related party or not? They are in the same family. But as per the UAE law, you have to be related to the fourth kinship.
Fourth generation.
So if you are in the fourth kinship, then you are a related party. So first of all, identify who is your related party. Then transactions with the related party will have to be streamlined with TP documentations and TP policies. The transaction and the price at which you are doing it will have to be at arm's length. And there are many methods for it. So it's not just the compliance risk, there is TP risk as well for businesses. Then tax treaty comes in as double taxation. So that risk, if you are doing inter-country transactions, then tax treaty risks will also be touched upon. So you need to be compliant now. There are many things which have been missed out in the past years, but not anymore in UAE.
So अगर एमआरआ टैक्स पे हम रजिस्टर कर रहे हैं एज ए कंपनी एंड देन वहाँ पे इश्यूज अगर आ रहे तो विल द प्लेटफॉर्म गाइड अस दैट दिस इज व्हाट इज मिसिंग एंड दिस इज नॉट नीड्स टू बी फुलफिल्ड फर्स्ट?
Yeah, the platform is guiding you, but at the same time, that is not enough. That's why you have consultants. Take the right advice, is what I feel. Because if you choose a certain path and you have to explain why you haven't done the updates in the past, maybe you will face issues and fines and penalties. So it's always better to take the right. When you're taking the first step, it's important that you hold someone's hands. Like a baby, he starts walking, he holds the hands of the parents. We consultants are like that only when it's coming to implementation stages of CT. So start with the registration. It's always better to get yourself registered. There is no deadline for registration. There's ample time. It is ideally just before you file your tax returns, but start it the right way. If you haven't done updates, so if you are fully VAT update, all your records are update on the VAT portal, it's not very complicated. If not, it is better to take guidance.
और penalties कितनी होंगे? Have those been listed yet or नहीं? बिल्कुल नहीं अभी.
No, not yet. In one of these sessions by the ministry, they specifically said that they won't penalize people for non-registration because they know that people need time. So ministry has been quite open about it. So there is no penalties that have been listed as of now, not for registrations at least, and not for any other. The CT law, there is no list of penalties yet, but there will be.
And also wanted to ask you one thing, job loss insurance जो है ना वो mandate बन गया है. अब क्या हो रहा है कि बहुत सारे employers are doing it on behalf of their employees as well. कि as an employer ये मेरा एक goodwill हो रहा है, तो वो भी expense जोड़ सकते हैं?
Yes,
क्योंकि ये mandate है ये.
And yeah, once it is a mandate, and any expense which is done or incurred for the business, you can't say that your wife is an employee and you want to take insurance of her. Wife can be an employee provided you have done her labor contract. Many people take freelancers but they don't give them labor permit. So these are the things which you need to streamline your internal records. So if you are a proper employee on record, paying salary to WPS, and if the employer wants to bear the cost as an incentive, this will be an incentive because it's an employee cost.
It's an incentive.
Yeah, so the employer is bearing that incentive. So that incentives are allowable. It's a deductible expense.
Now the thing is streamline करना for employees as well कितना ज़रूरी है. We've noticed so many things as you mentioned कि contract पे कुछ लिखा है actually मिल कुछ रहा है. But also we've noticed कि बिना work permit and बिना visa के भी expenses है जो आप जोड़ नहीं पाओगे documentation पे.
No, because you need, see, now when the accountant books an expense, ideally he has to get approved authorization from his management. I would say train your accountant in such a way that the authorization paper when it reaches their table should have all the documents attached to it.
Lot of employees की salary WPS पे नहीं आता. They
How do
either
you validate
get
for
cash,
that?
they either get bank transfer.
It's not about getting bank transfer. There is a statement which the ministry issues at the month end. Every month end, a ministry sends the employer a WPS statement. Not only WPS, it lists out the employee, the names, number of the employees you have, how many violations as a company you have done. That statement is readily available to every company which comes month end to you. Most of the employers, they have this statement but they don't act upon it. Every time you hire an employee, the labor department is already updated. If you are hiring a freelancer and doing a bank transfer now without giving him a labor work permit, it will be very, very visible in the records. Unless you take a freelancer invoice from that person. If you take a freelancer invoice, that will be counted as a freelancing revenue in the hands of the person who gets the salary. So from his perspective also, he has to approach to the company saying either you streamline my work permit or you give me a freelancer contract. So it's both the sides. It's for the company. When it comes to claiming of the expense, they will need a certain document. And if they hire him as a freelancer, the freelancer also has to consider that that will be his revenue, because he won't be considered as a salaried employee there.
Correct.
It will be
So
considered
this
as a
is
freelancer.
not
No, it's getting
just about
serious.
free zones and mainlands. I mean,
No.
we've gotten this wrong.
पूरा
also.
streamline as a company process जो है ना आपको करना है.
Talk 100.3.
Welcome to Daybreak with Vivek, Sanal and myself, Meerul Disa, and currently we are in conversation with CA Aashna Mulgaonkar, and the question to her that we're asking right now is how can businesses ensure compliance with the UAE's corporate tax laws and regulations, and what strategies should they implement to minimize the risk of penalties or audits?
I would say now the first step for SMEs would be to have an impact study. What will be the impact of corporate taxes on your businesses, and are you actually ready for it? To start with, the smallest thing is analyze your balance sheet. Analyze line item in your balance sheet. Your fixed assets. Some of the fixed assets are lying in the balance sheet for years. Furniture, fixtures, nobody knows what is the value of it. Your cars, company cars. So many company cars are given to employees to run. What is the market value of these assets has to be brought into the books this year. Understand the gains and losses of these assets. Moving down, prepaid expenses, current assets. In prepaid expenses, there is prepaid trade license, prepaid visas. There are many expenses there which are lying but not apportioned properly. So this has to be done now. Liability side. All the loan confirmations. There are so many third-party loans which people take here without documents. This can be a major impact.
ये पैसा आया कहाँ से? आपने लोन दिया but there is no document.
And loan without interest also there
It's
are
a question.
question. So these
So business modules are basically going to go for a toss now.
business module nahi.
Because that's how they used to
But the
operate at
practices
start.
that were-
The
Yes.
practices,
that were in
I
place.
would say there's nothing wrong in doing the practice, but at the same time creating the supporting document, right document is going to be very important now, which people have neglected all the while. People were booking their expenses and income on the basis of the bank. पैसा आया तो इनवॉइस बनाया, पैसा गया तो खर्चा हुआ. But it's not that anymore. You have to now start rework your entire balance sheet for this year. Closing balance sheet of this year will be the most critical for all the businesses whose financial year starts from Jan to December next year 24. अगर अभी से शुरू हो चुका है, then this is the time they have to do the closing.
So now what are the available incentives or exemptions within the UAE's corporate tax, and how can companies effectively utilize them to enhance profitability?
Yeah, so the government has been kind enough to give several incentives. SME relief hi dekh lo, 3 million ka turnover, they have given a relief for them. But again, how will you justify your 3 million turnover? Books of accounts will come into picture. You cannot say I have 10 businesses and all of them have threshold of less than 3 million. You won't be able to claim exemption like that. So you have to maintain books of accounts to see that you have only one business which is generating 3 million turnover for you. Otherwise, it is an anti-abuse rule. GAR rule will come in and you will be abusing the rule. So when you claim this relief, you have to be very, very sure about your turnover is not that less than 3 million, not more than 3 million. Then qualifying free zone. When you are applying for a qualifying free zone exemption relief, you have to see that the free zone books are maintained properly, qualifying income is calculated properly, what are the activities. One more important thing I want to say here, there are several companies which have trade license as one activity, but the business that they run is completely different from the trade license activity.
For example?
There are service licenses. People are doing trading. But the license is service. Now, if you want to claim a certain relief on an exemption on an activity basis, because there are activities listed out now, it is very important that your activity is in line with the trade license.
And also the designation of where you work as well, वो भी I think comes under play as well, right?
Designation of where you work.
मतलब जो आप काम कर रहे हो और जो फॉर एग्जांपल आप लाइसेंस में मैनेजर हो लेकिन आप एक्चुअली
CEO. That will have an impact on the salary. So management salary का bracket जब आएगा तो management salary के लिए you have to justify that you are fit for the role. So you can't say a finance manager, मेरी अपने बीबी को finance manager रखा but she is a marketing MBA field. nobody will object it unless she has some experience in finance when she's taking that amount of salaries. So even a CV, preparing management CVs and keeping on record will be a proper documentation to justify that you're paying that salary.
Wow,
Amazing.
it's clean bold for us.
Yeah, so incentives exemptions पे हम बात कर रहे थे, correct? Yeah.
Then there are incentives for natural person also. 1 million का already bracket आ चुका है. For transfer pricing documentation 200 million का bracket आ चुका है. So there are several incentives, and for entertainment expenses there is a cap of 50%. Interest के लिए 30% आ चुका है. So there are lot of reliefs that the government is giving, and 375 threshold itself is a relief. For many companies 375 के ऊपर is only 9%. Up to 375 is already 0%. So net profit is 500,000. You deduct the 375 and then you are paying 9%. It's not a very big amount and not a very big pinch or impact.
अजय का हमें मैसेज आया है, वो पूछ रहे कि हाई डज द सॉफ्टवेयर एंड सर्विसेज कंपनी इन फ्री जोन फॉल अंडर क्वालिफाइंग कैटेगरी?
Again, we need to understand his overall business model just by,
software and services
software
company.
and services, provided software and services company is providing
Within
the
the free
services within that particular free zone. First of all, will that free zone come under the decree law or not in the list?
That's another thing.
That will start with. Then your substance that you are maintaining should be within the free zone. Then even if you are providing services to another free zone company, you have to see. And when it is services, it is going to be difficult for them to define that they are only working in the free zone. But it is possible, not that you cannot get, provided you have a proper list of your clientele and where you are providing these services. And even if you are using a third party, to use the third party or a related party should also be within the free zone boundaries.
बराबर. तो ये सारी चीजें आपको ध्यान रखनी पड़ेंगी.
So these are all the details that one must bear in mind. Now moving forward, Aashna, what steps can businesses take to optimize their tax planning, and what types of structure should they include in their operations within the UAE to achieve the most favorable tax outcomes?
Yeah, so first is choose an optimal legal entity. What is your legal form? First of all, understand your activity is now very important. Where your clients are based is the second step. Why you are in mainland, you are serving free zone fully. You have to have a commercial reason to shift between mainland and free zone. So first of all, choose the right legal entity for you. Then there's one more important thing which I want to point out here is the intellectual property. So understand where your intellectual property rights are. Major tax structures are based on intellectual properties.
Okay.
Break down your financials into a bucket list. Set up targets for yourself. Make bucket lists. Bucket list would consist of an accounting and audit department, a tax department, and then a compliance department. Unless your accounts is not streamlined, audit cannot be done. Unless audit cannot be streamlined properly, tax cannot be computed properly.
So त्रिदेव हो गया ये.
Yes, so त्रिदेव हो गया. They are all interconnected. Have a bucket list for yourself and your company, and then achieve what you.
Thank
This
you
is amazing.
so much, Aashna.
We're running out
so
of
much
time.
Details.
But so many points still yet to be discussed. कि Friday हम कोशिश करेंगे कि आप फिर से आए या अगले हफ्ते आए या ईद के बाद आए. ईद के अच्छे प्लान्स बना लिए आपने?
हाँ, ईद को तो हम जा रहे हैं छुट्टी पे.
Very
नहीं
nice.
तो फिर टैक्स करते फैमिली टैक्सिंग हो जाएगी. हाँ,
you need a break as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Good trip. Happy Eid Mubarak आपको wish कर रहे हैं एडवांस में.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your vacation and don't send us loads of pictures. Just come back with loads of goodies.
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 Very demanding. All right. Thank you once again, CA Aashna, for taking time out, coming into our studios and explaining at length about corporate tax.
Most well. I mean, its pleasure is all mine, and I would really want to thank Tally as well for taking up such great initiative, imparting knowledge among all the listeners, which is very, very important now. Unless you educate yourself, you will not be able to overcome this. So thank you very much. Thanks to both of you as well.